Are you a fan of Arteta?
Oh, I think he... What?
Now they're talking about Sesko being the answer. He's not.
They all said the same thing, is that as soon as you looked at him, he was there. And as soon as you looked back at the ball and looked for him again, he was gone. And it was just constant.
Be a decent back three, huh? I think so. I'm in the middle, though. So you got me two Dobermans. Go on, boy! Get on!
Do you think he will die on his sword?
Oh, very quickly.
I think he's better than Arteta. I think he's a winner.
Tony Adams was good, wasn't he? Amazing, amazing, amazing. The good news is there's more of Tony in part 2, and then if you've listened to the podcast over the last 10 months or so, you will know we have two of the best pundits around. They're brilliant. We're so happy. They were two of the first people I called when we started the podcast, and they're here tonight. So would you welcome, please, Tony Adams back, and of course, Gary Breen and Damien Delaney, everybody! How stylish is Damien Delaney? Come on. Come on. I said, how stylish. The first thing Tony Adams did was slag you when he saw you.
He called me a janitor.
But we're laughing with you and not at you.
We are.
Just those old football reflexes, established dominance early. I went, that's very. I said, you didn't need to, it was fine.
Yeah.
First tackle, first header.
You're both very well. Thanks for being here. Thank you for flying over. Appreciate it.
Listen, as soon as you said you had Tony Adams on, I was badgering you to get onto the show, to be honest, but it's because for me as a young kid growing up as an Arsenal fan around Camden Town, obviously my initial attraction to Arsenal was the area, but Liam Brady, I'd have so many debates with the Tottenham fans around me that Liam Brady was so much better than Glenn Hoddle. They were talking about walk-on-water Hoddle. But then George Graham takes over Arsenal, as so many of you will know, and these young players, and Tony alluded to it, that these young players just suddenly emerged. Tony, David Rokos, Michael Thompson, even Gus Caesar, those type of guys, Paul Merson and Niall Quinn. And it was just a brilliant time to then see them go to Anfield and do what they did after 18 years. And I didn't see the game. I lived and breathed Arsenal at that time, and the Kerry football team as well. So I loved them so much. Those two teams were most things. But on that Friday evening, the schools had broken up, and my mum had booked for us, like we did every time in half terms or holidays, go back to Ireland. And I said, Mum, the game's on Friday night, and football wasn't really on telly then, and this was the ultimate game that was going to go down in history. So I said to my mum, is there any way we can go Saturday? She went, no, don't be silly. So I scurried off to my dad to say, Dad, I know you're not going, but could I stay with you? And he went, don't be so stupid. Get on the thing. So from Victoria, that long bus ride to Holyhead, and I'm thinking, my dad always had the radio on in the car, listening to the football. I'm thinking the bus driver must have the radio on, but he didn't. So the whole journey from Victoria to Holyhead, then that awful boat over, and then from Dublin to the west to Kerry and Clare, I still didn't know whether or not we had done it.
Oh.
How bad is that for a young kid who just idolised Arsenal at that time?
Wow. Because you would have been 10 when he made his debut. So you're kind of a sweet spot. I checked the dates. You're kind of 15, around that age. That tally with your memory? In 89?
Oh, yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
That, and ultimately at that age is when football means so much to you, doesn't it, as such? And the arguments I would have with all my mates, because where we are in Camden Town, you're either Arsenal or Tottenham, there's no one else. And to have that type of what had happened, because Arsenal were really struggling up to that point, really, in terms of kind of like, 10th in the table, not much to talk about. Tottenham had a good team with Clive Allen at that time as well, so I was up against it, you know what I mean? I was really struggling. But then suddenly that team emerged and I was living the dream.
It was funny upstairs when you were chatting to Tony and Damien walked in and said hi, you just didn't even acknowledge him.
We only got Tony for so long, so I didn't have time to wait for Damien.
Damien, great to have you with us.
Thanks very much.
I was curious, you would have just missed Tony's Arsenal, but would you, growing up, have watched, the famous back four, learned things from defenders, like mimicked defenders like Adams? Is that a big thing for defenders
absolutely.
as well?
I was born 81, so advent of the Premier League was 91. I was 10. And then, you know, I remember all those battles right through the 90s. I remember Euro 96. So Tony would have been a huge part of everything that I consumed, every aspect of football. The famous Arsenal back four, George Graham, the Terry Venables. That was the first team that really captured my imagination, that Euro 96 team. Gary Neville was in it, and Tony, and I remember Darren Anderton and Teddy Sheringham, and, you know, Gascoigne. You know, that was my first, you know, I was 14, 15 years of age at the time, and, you know, I'm kind of really getting into the concept. And it's the first time I've seen 3-5-2 or managed to absorb it or see what it was. So, yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, you know, Tony and the armband is synonymous with my football upbringing.
You, a little bit older, you played against that late 90s Arsenal team.
Yeah, it was like my first game at Highbury in the Premier League was on a Monday night. It was the second game of the season, and we played Chelsea on the Saturday. We'd won that game, and then you're playing on the Monday. You know, players are complaining now about playing something. So we turned up at Highbury, and only one of the famous back four and the goalkeeper was playing, Nigel Winterburn. So we're thinking at that time, we've got a massive chance here. You know, they got their main players out. But then suddenly, you walk in the tunnel and you see these two new partnerships in midfield, Vieira and Petit. And they were just sensational. And if you think about just how good they were as a midfield, and then you put that together with that back four, that was what's so good about Wenger in those early days, is that he carried on with the great work that George Graham had done. He kind of brought those star players in as well. And it was just a perfect mix. And you think about then the likes of Henry and Bergkamp, and you're lining up in that Highbury tunnel. These guys are 6'2", but they're big and strong as well. It was so difficult. They were, I'd argue that them, and I know everyone talks about 99 team for United and that, and maybe Mourinho's Chelsea team, but I'd argue that 98 team was incredible.
Right. It's funny, any player you talk to about them, and it's not something in a pre-match chat punditry people would ever mention, the size. You know, it's not, no one goes, Arsenal have a good chance, they're a big team. But anytime you talk to players who lined up against them in the tunnel, it's almost the first thing they say about that late 90s Arsenal team.
Yeah, because if you think about if you're a lesser team and you're playing against gifted individuals, more often than not it's about physically imposing yourself on them. Can you do that? But you couldn't do it with Arsenal because they beat you up in a fight, if you want to go down that road, and then they'll outplay you technically. So it really was such a difficult game against them.
Yeah. I should say for podcast listeners, Tony's just nodding silently, agreeing with all of
No, I love this. Talk about old me every day. It's wonderful. We made defending sexy. That's what we made it.
Well, yeah, you might have done. I'm not sure we did.
Not the janitor. Stop it. No, but they were awesome, and you know, Manu Petit was, I know people say about Patrick, but Manu Petit, he could play left back, he could play left midfield, he could play centre half. He used to play centre back for Monaco, and he popped into midfield, and I had literally nothing to do for the first time in my career. He just was the perfect screen, you know. No player got. I got the cigar on, you know, and.
But even that pitch, Highbury, so tight compared to the Emirates.
That's why I signed.
Yeah,
the smallest place.
But it really was. You literally got your head up to make a pass, and there was nowhere to make a pass. They were just on you. It's so hard.
Yeah, frightening. You said something in your book which, again, isn't talked about very much, but it's probably such an aspect all three of you can relate to. Well, obviously you said it in your book, the other two. You said when you first started playing at 2021, I could concentrate in a game for about an hour, and then it just sort of lapsed at the start towards the end, which was fascinating. I don't think of a player's ability to concentrate for 90 minutes very much. It makes perfect sense, obviously. But when you're against these brilliant players, to just be switched on all the time, I presume like the slightest slip mentally and you're done, Damien.
Oh no, absolutely. That's what the good players do, and they're so patient. You know, they wait. I remember one of my first experiences, just to back that up, was playing at Stamford Bridge, and Fabregas was playing and Torres was playing up front, and Fabregas kept getting on the ball and Torres kept making these runs in behind. And as a defender, you're looking and thinking, Fabregas is in luck, but I've kept tracking the runs. I was getting tired because they're 25, 30 yard sprints every time to keep tracking it in behind. And I thought, he's just going to go. I'm just going to let him go. And the first time I let him go, Fabregas hit that pass. And I remember thinking to myself, he didn't even look. But obviously he's on the ball, he's watching, okay, that's on. The one time I put the brakes on and went, I'm not wasting energy. he fired that ball and put him through one-on-one. Look at the goalkeeper saved it, but that was when I went, oh my God, like you can't let up for 1 second, you know. So the top players are just always probing, always teasing, always testing you with the passes, rolling a slow one in. Do you set about the lights to come out? You know, what way do you turn when you run in behind? Do you turn inside? So they're always looking for those little weaknesses, and the second you switch off, the good players will always pick you off.
That's such a lesson in standards, isn't it? That Fabregas moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my you know.
Yeah.
Players that come to mind like that, Gary Lineker and Michael Owen for me as well, because on average they ain't got a lot. They ain't going to beat you with skill and stuff, but they just stay on your shoulders, us being centre. Be a decent back three, I think so. I'm in the middle though. So you got me 2 Dobermans. Go on, boy! Get on! Come on, guy. I need to be there. But Michael, you switch off for 1 minute, and these goal scorers, they've got the art of it. You swip off in 2001 when we lost in the last minute. You bounce and bang. Because, like I say, on a 1v1 with Michael, he's no problem. I play him in front of me all day long. But
it was such a one-sided cup final that as well, didn't it? So
Thierry Henry never scored in a final, has he?
No.
We won't hold that against him.
We were talking a couple of months ago, and you told us something about Crespo, which was just fascinating. And actually, it should be passed to all strikers. Like, only a defender would know how deadly it was. But it almost, you'd be better off coaching strikers almost than strikers should be.
Yeah, I think when you kind of probably would name all the top strikers you played against, and you mentioned some of them, iconic ones like Kenny Dalglish and stuff like that, but there's always something that one particular player does that unnerves you. Straight away you feel this doesn't feel comfortable. And it was Crespo when he came into the Premier League, and he's not someone who kind of like jumps out at you as a big name. I know he's a top striker, but for players who are playing, and a lot of players will have mates at other teams, and you'll say like, have you played against him yet? And they all said the same thing, is that as soon as you looked at him, he was there. And as soon as you look back at the ball and look for him again, he was gone. And it was just constant. He was so good at doing it, and it was so unnerving in terms of how quality he was at it, and that the pass would come, that you were always scattering about to see where he was. You couldn't find him.
It's such a simple thing, though.
Yeah, it sounds simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, you'd be surprised. Very few centre forwards do it. Very few.
Yeah. Who were the other intelligent? Like, what's so fascinating about that is that that's something you'd have to tell us for us to know as watching. Who were the other really smart forwards you came up against?
Oh, listen, Tony was saying about Bergkamp and stuff like that. And when I kind of think what you said is that he kind of would drop off you into that 10. You said you didn't particularly like it. And then the question he was asking you was, are you coming? And if you're not, I'm going to get on the half 10, I'm going to play. If you do come, he's spinning in behind you. And it's that type of movement like that that's so... You're so uncomfortable throughout the game, coupled with the fact that he's surrounded with top-class players. But what people don't realise about Bergkamp as well is that when he actually come to the Premier League, I don't think he was overly physical. I know he played in the Serie A, which was known as that type of league, but he must have been getting kicked to pieces by you guys in training.
Correct.
Because he learnt how to be a horrible centre-forward in terms of leading with elbows and stuff like that. So he did a good job.
Yeah, perfect. Job done. There was one occasion up at Middlesbrough where it's February, and as you know, it's not particularly great weather up there in that time of year, and it was freezing cold, and we're going for the league title in 97, 98, and I could see he was on the coach. He was kind of not interested. Do you know what I mean? He's like, you get a sniff. Arsene always said, you got a sniff, Toad. I don't know what he kind of meant. But you could sniff the changing room. He used to say to me, you sniff it. And I sniffed it on that day with the coach. And as I got off the coach, I went, Dennis. I said, and I swore at him, but I said, we need you today. We need you today. You know, and don't go hiding today. These are the days that win you the league, not running through May 25th and getting a goal. No, we need you today. You know, we're going to be under the cosh for the first 20 minutes. We need you to put a shift in as well. You know, stop them defenders playing like Rushy back in the day. You remember Ian Rush and all those guys? They used to be the first defenders. They were brilliant at it. You know, it was like that every time I got the ball. He's like, whoa! He was their best defender. And I said, Dennis, we need him. And we won 1-0 in that game. And Dennis turned up for us. Yeah. And he went to another level. You know, we showed him that he had to.
He absolutely did.
Every single game, you need to be on it.
Yeah. No, he's an amazing player. He was, because when I made my debut for Ireland, it was in the summer of '96 when you guys were playing Euros. We went up to Holland. We played them in a friendly, and you could tell he was a really good player there, technically gifted and stuff like that. But what he became, and likewise with Henry, when he first come to Arsenal, we played against him for Coventry in that game that Robbie Keane scored that brilliant goal. Moments of brilliant skill, but not a constant threat. And then fast forward 2 or 3 years later, and it was just sensational player.
Yeah, he is kind of unplayable, Henry.
Nice. How do you play against that? I mean,
we never.
What was he like in training to play against? Was he involved?
I first saw him. We went to Morocco, and the French were playing Morocco, and England were playing before the World Cup in '98. And he was a little guy. He looked a little bit like Theo Walcott. You know, he was quick, and he was on playing left wing. And if you ask Arsene to this day, none of us, absolutely, when Nicholas' brother wanted too much money, and we kicked Nicholas into touch because you don't hold Arsenal Football Club to ransom. No one's bigger than the Arsenal. So he went, and then we had this little kid that's been playing left wing that was quick, and Arsene went, well, do you want to play down the middle type of stuff? And none of us knew, including Arsene, that he'd turn into the player that he was. And we all know where you got it. Takes one to know one. Boom. Cut.
Damien, did you play against Henry?
Yeah. I probably just in 2002 when I was at Leicester. I was only 18 at the time, and I got into the first team. Played at Highbury, and I think Tony might have been on the bench. Sol Campbell was playing. I remember picking him up.
I was never sub. No.
And so like I actually got to play at Highbury and experience that, which is not something that you often speak about, but you know, having watched that stadium through the 90s, you know, all the iconic moments that happened at it, and then to get to play there in one of the final years of it. Now we got beat 5. Thierry Henry was coming down my side really, and it was just the nonchalance of him, like people say it's arrogance, but the swagger of it. Just and it was the first time I could never understand how he could go from standing still to flat out in 2 strides. I'd never seen anything like that before. You know, most players took a bit of time to get up and give it, but he would stop the ball, you'd stop, and then he'd move it, and that was it. He was top speed, and he was gone. You know. So my Highbury experience of walking in and seeing the marble, the staircase, the wooden doors was awesome for me. Walking out, not so much.
And what do you do against Henry when he's just that good?
I just accept it. You know, it's happening.
It's a learning curve.
We don't fight it. You know, I was a young kid at the time. And there was a lot of experience sent to. You know, Matty Elliott was playing alongside me. You know, Jerry Taggart, Frank Sinclair, they were all in the team as well. So like proper lads. I was just kind of filling a gap that appeared. But Matty Elliott was great with me afterwards. He said, look, you know, you're going to learn from that kid. You know? He said, I don't know the answers. They've been doing that to me for a long time, which gave me a lot of confidence, you know, that an experienced player was saying that he didn't know how to deal with it. So that helped me a little bit. But it's a nice memory now.
Yeah.
And it's a team game, isn't it? Yeah. You know what I mean? If it's not Thierry, it's Dennis. If it's not Dennis, it's, you know, Marco van Basten. It's a woo.
Yeah. I mean, Vieira was the first man that I looked at and I went, is he real? Like, he was massive. Yeah. He was like I'm big, and I was probably same height as me, but I remember just looking at him. Oh, the presence of him, like, it was just walking past you, you know, World Cup winner, and you're just looking at him going, sweet divine Jesus, like, what have I got here? And he was making these runs into the box, and do I stay with him? Do I track him? I didn't know whether to stick or twist, you know, because as a young player, it's difficult to deal with, you know.
Just those long legs, you know.
It was insane, honestly. The
Vix
Vieira, you remember the Vix Vieira?
Yeah.
That was the...
You could smell him, you knew he was coming.
Sylvain Wooltard, you know, there were 6 World Cup winners in that squad. Then we sent our reserve team, you know, Freddie Ljungberg and stuff, to beat Man United in 2002, you know. I was at home, and Thierry and Dennis was on the bench. You know, the squad was enormous. And in fact, I said to you back in the room, I don't think we won as much as we should have. To be completely honest with you, I know we lost on penalties against Galatasaray in 2001 and the 99 FA Cup and Man United stuff, but it's probably credit to Man United at the same point. You know, what a fantastic team they were at that time. So the rivalry was phenomenal.
Even playing the European games at Wembley upset it a bit, didn't it, and things like that, because that team should have dominated Europe really in terms of the quality that they had, Arsenal. It was, I can't understand why they didn't as such.
Yeah.
Amazing. But it's that physicality that they had as well, and it's amazing how then that Arsene Wenger with every year went away from that to have a kind of like a Barcelona light version. And now you've got Arteta now really emphasising Arsenal's physicality in terms of how close they can go to the title this year. Now will be based on that they're such a strong, powerful team.
Yeah, I think the only time Arteta's won anything is when we were good defensively. And I think people don't even look at it today. It's not a revered part of the game. I see so many own goals. I scored 2 own goals in my career. 2 own goals. The last game of the season of Sky, I watched 5 games and there was 11 own goals. It's like all defenders are dropping so deep now into the box. And I said earlier about the 85% of goals come in the box, and the whole philosophy around George Graham was to keep teams out of the box. So we were a full press team. So George Graham's team, we were so offensive. We tried to push up to the halfway line and pin you guys in. Push, push, push. I was screaming from the back, push, push, push. And then when Arsene came in, he went to me, accents again. Why don't you drop off? Can we drop off 10 yards into your own box? Because we've got quick players like Nicolas Anelka now and Thierry Henry, and we need to counter-attack. So we was more defensive with Arsene Wenger than we were with George Graham, which people kind of go, oh, it can't be right, but it was. We were a full press team with George, and we were a counter-attacking team with Arsene Wenger.
Now, we played against you at Highfield Road one time for Coventry. We were struggling at the time, and your winning goal, you beat us 1-0, was exactly that in the second half. Counter-attack, Anelka, I think one of Overnaar's breaks, Anelka gets tapping after the goalkeeper saves it. So that's just what Arsenal had. They could play every system, it seemed.
It's funny you mentioned Freddie Ljungberg there. There's a man to ghost into the box. Those runs, amazing. Brilliant player. Scored a good few against United, didn't he?
Oh, he's a wonderful player. Yeah. You can name so many, and he married. No, I'm gonna. Can we move on?
Where are you going with this one?
No, Freddie's got the best bottom I've ever seen. I used to get. He's so beautiful. He's so wonderful. I used to get changed with him every morning, and he was so beautiful. I love Freddie to death. He's a great pal of mine, great man, and a wonderful, wonderful footballer.
In my extensive research, there was one thing I thought I wouldn't get to with you, but you've just reminded me of it, and you were asked, tell us something we don't know about you. And I think it was you do bum crunches in the shower. You tone your physique in the shower. You do, okay.
He's up again.
So I squeeze it in and hold it up here, because it all falls away once you get old like me.
There you go. There's a tip for everyone at home.
Keep it going. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Okay, so Freddie Ljungberg, good player. Just for the edit purposes, Freddie Ljungberg, good player. Pause.
Well done.
You got the modern day striker. So this is kind of an art of defending chat we're having. We'll move into the preview of the season in a moment. So obviously you couldn't kick them as much as these guys in particular, or elbows, or the dark arts a little bit. And I was trying to think your era, so obviously Kane is a huge player, Rooney's a huge player, you get a bit of Ronaldo, you get Suarez, you get a bit of Aguero. I don't know, is it those guys that bothered you, or is it the ones dropping deep like Tony says?
Yeah, I'd probably take a little bit of a different tone to the lads. Yes, the bruises we could all deal with. I came into the game kind of, everyone was still playing 2 up front, little and large. You had to get up, you had to learn how to cover. That's one thing now when teams play 2 up front, centre-backs don't know how to cover each other, how to read the flick on, how to pick up the bits, what runs is he making, where do you need it to go. So that's an art that I really, the only team recently that did it was Watford with Troy Deeney and Igalo. They caused carnage for 2 years.
Yeah, I remember Tottenham having a really good back four to Alderweireld and Vertonghen.
Yeah.
And when they played Watford, they went to a free
because they couldn't cope. It's hard to cope with 2 up front, but I obviously caught the tail end of that. Then it went to 1 up front, but it was always the little midfield players, the David Silvas, the Fabregases, the Hazards, because these guys were just you think you've got your angles covered, and you're thinking, right, you can't squeeze that pass in there. If he gets it there, it's fine, I'm on a safe side. but they would just squeeze it. And it's like your brain couldn't get the message down to get the leg out because they would just fizz it down the side and it slicks off the pitch and it squeeze passes in there. So you're always hedging your bets. You know, what do I definitely need to cut off here that won't lead to a goal? Okay, cut that off. Okay, if it goes there, I can react, I can readjust. If it goes there, I might have a little bit of help. So you're constantly doing all these calculations in your mind. But the one game that really threw me, and I'd never had it before, was playing for Ireland against Germany in a World Cup qualifier in Cologne. It was the first time I played against no centre forward. So the evolution of it came to no centre. They did 6 midfield players. So they had Khedira, they had Kroos, they had Ozil, they had Schweinsteiger, they had Muller, and they had Lam. So they had 6 centre midfield players. The team sheet came in, we didn't know what they were doing. And it was the first time as a centre back. It was very unnerving because I had nobody to play against. Yeah. And all they were waiting for was you to get bored, go look for a little bit of work, drift inside or drift wide, because as a centre-back, you want things to do, don't you? You want to be involved in the game. But if you've got nothing to do, you're just sliding, standing. You haven't seen the ball, you haven't laid hands on anybody, and they were just waiting for that one moment that you got bored and you stepped out, and all of a sudden, there was a pass, there was the late run, there was the outside, the in run off that shoulder when you step inside. So trying to learn how to deal with that, and then that became really, a lot of teams started doing that, and a lot of teams are doing that now, that false nine stuff that it's developed into, but it's all to entice the centre-back out, you know, it was all to entice. You get bored and you go looking for work. That's what I used to say to myself, don't get bored, don't get looking for work. You've not been involved in this game for 30 minutes. Gary's I
had plenty of work, I don't know what was happening. I seem to have so much work when I was defending.
Yeah, no, but when you're up against two, you always have someone. Yeah. You know, you've the little or the large, and you're either fighting with the guy trying to win the first ball, or you're tracking the runner for the ball in behind, or you're looking for the one diagonal. There's always something to do. Yeah. Or you was always involved in something, you know. So that evolution from 2 to 1 to no one was hard, but you know, just the ones you mentioned, the Harry Kane, he's got shots off so fast. You know, like he really got shots off quickly. You know, touch out his feet, snap shot quickly, and half the time you're going to block it and it goes through your legs and it squirms into the far post, and you're like, fuck, I was there, but he just squeezed it. But yeah, so that's just the evolution of learning how to deal with all those different situations, and you're constantly watching tape back and thinking, what should I have done there? How did he get in? Where was my drop in concentration? Trying to learn off that, you know, because there was no real coaching manual at that time for
football always evolves, doesn't it? But it does feel like it's coming back full circle now in terms of like it's about high energy, getting the ball forward quicker, not necessarily Pep's slow build-up play. Even him as a manager is saying that the way Iriola played for Bournemouth is the way football's going, and then you see his signings and you see the fact now that he's got the Liverpool assistant manager in who would have been like so well drilled in how Klopp did it. But for you, it would have been a master. I build out Arsenal back 4 and the AC Milan one under Baresi as the masters of defending in terms of how good they were. You talked about pressing, they were amazing. Bearing in mind Serie A was about dropping back in numbers, they were high press as well. What do you think now, looking at the way teams are defending, would you adhere to it, or would you be going in as maybe going back to ways you guys did it?
Pellegrini was the only one that did the full-backs, getting them inside. And it's possession is king, and they do. We the whole name in the game is to move the ball side to side and through the lines, so you guys do get bored and lose concentration, then we can put it through. So we try to change the sides all the time, go in on this side and then come out and go the other side, and then you obviously gaps create holes, and we can slide balls through. That's the name of the game when you're in possession. Of course, turn that around, and when you're defending, you've got to keep the concentration and do the holes. But I think it's it's come into play because these guys, they were the first two to do it on the side. They have to show inside. No one's doing it since 2010. No one's shown inside. So Terry Venables drew a pitch like that, and their fullbacks couldn't go into that area. I did it with Portsmouth in 2008. With Glenn Johnson and Sylvain Distin and Sol Campbell. I had quite a good back four. And I said, guys, get them in, get these guys. The right back goes in there, and then we could actually hold a line. So I don't see no teams in the Premier League holding any lines today. It infuriates me. I'm like, where are all these teams gone? You know, there's no one holding boxes. I talked about the goals conceded, the own goals. It's because defenders are in their box and they're sticking out arms and doing blocks, and it's going off their sides. I never went in the box. If a centre forward run in there, he was offside. Obviously, that hand was kind of working. I'm not going to go with a silly forward because the natural intention for the forward is to try and get in there and score. He wants to go forward, so you go, well, go on in, go on.
When you were holding that line, it looked like you're in total control of the situation in terms of he is going to be offside. There's no doubt about it because of the distances.
We don't try to play inches, you're trying to play yards, so you go with them for a certain bit and then come back out. So it's 2 yards then instead of the 1. You just don't stand there like the full Monty video and kind of go, there you go, offside.
But then you'll see the likes of Klopp's Liverpool team towards the end, like Van Dijk, and they're literally just running up and they are literally putting their hands up, but virtually their fingers crossed to stay offside. There's no body shape to determine where the ball's coming from, whether or not they will be offside.
No. But they are a full press. They're very George Graham. You know, it is a very George Graham outfit, and they do kind of press. And they've got a fantastic. Gravenberg last year was amazing.
Oh yeah, that new version this year was better because they dropped about 3 or 4 yards deeper. Was better, but that version of Klopp.
It was always the goalkeeper with Klopp. If the goalkeeper was out far enough, that window that you had to drop the ball into between the back four and the goalkeeper was small. If the goalkeeper's back, then it's a nothing ball as anything spun in behind gets you. But it was always a position of the goalkeeper. You know, if they do get it over your head, our goalkeeper should get it. You know. That's it. And I presume you guys had the same.
Same thing. Yeah. Goalie, sweeper. You played sweeper. Goalie, sweeper, anything. Yeah. Goalie, there he is. Here it is.
I knew this had happened. So, the art of it. Do you, by the way, welcome if this change from possession, split centre halves, if the play is moving a bit more in the Bournemouth direction, do you welcome that, or do you really enjoy the football that we've seen over the last decade?
I don't. To be honest with you, I don't really like the way teams are defending, so I don't get no joy out of that. So hopefully they do go back. It's becoming a non-contact sport, and we don't want it to go that way. I still think, judging by the fans, when I see someone go in and they go smack, the crowd still to this day go wow, and I've watched matches and there's not been a tackle. You know, I've been to the Arsenal on a couple of occasions and it's been side. Yeah,
but that goes back to the refereeing, right? You pick up yellow cards now for that. There's no like, I watch back Premier League years, you know, and you see the 93, 94, some of the stuff that's happening, it's jailable these days, right? It's that bad, you know what I mean? And even the commentators are going, oh yeah, he probably should have got booked for that. I'm thinking, he should have went away for that. That was brutal.
That's right? Back in your day, you'd say to the ref, you cut him in half first, and you say to the ref, that's the first one, ref.
Exactly.
And he's got one for free.
And that's what I'm saying, the yellow card's out straight away now, and once you're on a yellow, they've no hesitation. They don't care if you're on a yellow. You do it again, you get in a second one, and it's only for slight things. And it's the way when you listen to commentators, you listen to people speaking afterwards. It's like, oh, he's lucky to get away with a yellow card for that. And I'm going, come on. Like, I mean, it was a legitimate attempt. I mean, if you're nasty, you stud your shot, but you know, your legitimate attempt to play the ball is fine. You know, one of the type of tackles I really have a bugbear with is if a ball is bouncing and I go to toe poke it, and I get there first and I toe poke it, the natural motion of the foot comes up, the studs will be showing. Right? But if I've toe poked the ball and then people are saying, oh, he's left his studs there. He's not. It's just a natural motion like that. And I've got there a split second before you and my studs have grazed your shin pad and people are crying for a red card. Oh, that's studs, that's high. You know, and I just think to myself, that's a little bit like, you know, in emotion of playing for the ball, it's absolutely fine. You know what I mean? Like if you're going late and high and you're showing your studs, I get it. Yeah. But if you're trying to play the ball, it's a footballing incident. Let the players get on with it.
I totally agree. And it's about the referees. The game is revered around the world because of the physical contact. Yeah. And sometimes last season, I watch a game and I don't know if it's Spain, La Liga, or it's the Bundesliga, or the Premier League. I don't know. They're all playing the same way. But what stood us apart from all those other leagues is the referees have let things go. Yeah. And it's the onus is on the man in charge to actually go on, away you go, and not get the yellow card out straight away. And I think there was elements, I think last year they did try. I think the narrative through the Sky and the Premier League was to actually let the game go a little bit, and there was a few good games that I saw.
Yeah, there was a couple of incidents. I remember playing against like Troy Deeney, who was a big boy, like jumping into stuff like that. I remember you getting into him, you know, and this was maybe, I don't know, 2015. The referee would kind of go, "Are you happy?" And I go, "Absolutely." "Troy, are you happy?" Troy going, "Absolutely." and just get on with it. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing malicious, just physicality, you know. And I was happy to get on with it. It was what I wanted, you know.
Yeah. Gary, do you enjoy football now, the football we're seeing over the last year or two, the possession-based in particular, or would you like a bit more kind of up and down, less respect for possession almost?
No, I love how football does evolve, but the frustration, and Tony says it is there, is that because Pep Guardiola was doing it with the best players in the world, playing that certain way, that every other coach then felt that they could do it with lesser players, not just the Premier League. It filtered down to when I was coaching in League One, teams with centre-halves were splitting. They were passing the ball from the goalkeeper into a midfield who can't receive on the half turn. And very few players can. It's a real skill, and yet they still wanted to play that way. And the frustration for me certainly is, I wonder what you think, Tony, in terms of even Vincent Kompany, the way he played for Burnley, gave him no chance to survive in the Premier League. And on the back of that, gets the Bayern Munich job. So I think coaches, young coaches now, especially you think about Russell Martin as well, at Southampton. And I'm thinking, how are you getting another job based on that? You've not give your players any chance. I think the one thing you want as a player is for your manager to put a tactic and a plan in place where you can be successable, not hang you out to dry.
It's philosophy these days. What is your philosophy on football? Now, you tried that philosophy with a certain group of players and didn't work out. We don't blame you. We have a different set of players for you at Bayern Munich. You can do it here. Okay. So that's the message that's going out, you know, as opposed to a coach going in going, what have I got? What's the best I can conjure up with this group of players? I need to play away to suit these group of players to keep us up.
What are you going to think as a Burnley player, though, if that was the manager doing that, just like you going out there as fodder, really? It's difficult.
Well, you sign players that want to do it. It's just the fact that as you go up through the levels, you can't do it because in the Premier League, when you turn the ball over, you force passes into tight areas. You know, but you go into the Championship, you can do it. You know, it's the hardest thing in football is scoring goals. I mean, you start playing train out from the back. It's very hard to get.
I feel if you've got 11 super players and you play the same way as 11 not so good, then players are always going to win. So I spoke to Russell about this, and he was under directive from his owners and stuff to try and play football. And I said, well, you're going to lose. You know, why don't you mix it up, try something different, you know, knock the ball in behind them, bit of a Stoke, Tony Pulis style back in the day. Team survived playing a different way. You know, it caused problems. But he said, no, my owner won't put up with that.
Right.
Yeah. So they're under a directive to actually try and play this style of football. But they know full well, because if you've got the same players doing the same system, they're not going to be successful.
To get your thoughts on the season coming up, fellas. So Liverpool go in as champions. They've been busy in the transfer market in a big way. So Wirtz has come in, Ekitike has come in, Frimpong has come in, I guess as a replacement for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Kirkes has come in, and Marmadashvili was in as of last season but comes in this year. So the way, and Isak obviously is the other thing people do expect they're going to get him. So Damien, people are speculating they will line up with Gakpo on the left, Isak through the middle, Salah right-hand side, Wirtz behind them, Szoboszlai comes out, and then McAllister, Gravenberch, and that will be their front six, their front six. If they go with that and they get Isak, does that put them absolutely in pole position? Is this beautiful?
You'd have to say so, yes. There's no known quantity with Wirtz. How will he take to the league? His style? Will he settle quickly? The same with Ekitike. The one thing I would say that kind of goes against Liverpool is they've lost Trent, they've lost Luis Diaz, and for all the trimmings, the hard numbers that have gone out of their team, like goals and assists from Trent. For all his faults, you can say what you want about him, his numbers every year on year were incredible. And he got Liverpool out of many a hole with a world-class pass late in the game against a low block. He could cut that open. Luis Diaz with his tenacious work rate always just seemed to make something happen. He's out of the team now, and everyone's saying, well, Ekitike is better. Well, he might be, but he's never played in the Premier League before. It might take time to settle. The same with Wirtz. Salah, I would imagine his numbers will start to, I say this with no confidence by the way, but they might start to tail off to 30 to maybe 20. So all of a sudden you're taking hard facts out of that Liverpool team that you've got to replace. Now I hope they have a plan, I hope they can piece it together, and if they do, and Isak comes in, there's hard numbers right there, but he's not in the building just yet. So you've got to replace hard numbers with potential, and I think there has to be a little bit of give and take in that there. So they're losing a lot, Liverpool, and potentially gaining an awful lot. So on paper, yes, they're in pole position, but it remains to be seen.
Tony? Arteta, are you a fan of Arteta?
Oh, I think he. What? Was there too much of a long pause there?
They can cut that and edit it nicely.
Can they really?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sugar. I think he's got a really big call to make this year. And for me, he hasn't done it. And the call is to make Declan Rice the captain. For a couple of reasons. I forgot he's Irish, isn't he? Idiot.
He's not Irish.
Exactly.
Was.
Exactly. So I think Declan is my kind of captain, and what it might do, it might free Odegaard up to play with a bit more freedom. He had a very average season last year. The Portuguese lad is not don't know yet, so he's untried and tested. I would like to have seen him got Ollie Watkins, to be honest with you. He's a gooner. He might have given us a year, and we might have won the title. But I think sometimes when you've got the main man and the captain of the club, Terry Venables did it. He took David Platt and he put me as captain, and Glenn Hoddle took me out and put Alan Shearer, which was a silly decision. But every now and again, as a manager, you have to put someone that reflects you, that reflects the football club, that you think you can actually take it to the next level.
Does he reflect Arteta?
Odegaard
Does Declan
didn't
Rice
for me.
reflect Arteta?
I think he's better than Arteta. I think he's a winner.
No, but I'm saying, does Declan Rice portray all the values that Arteta wants?
I think he's an Arsenal kind of leader. I think he is. He's a good in the dressing room, around the training camp, around anything. You know, he's got standards, he's got principles, he's got, I can see the man that's he's a proper player and a proper captain.
I think Declan Rice.
Do you look at Declan Rice in a way?
I would have done it, but you're talking about Arteta and stuff, but Arteta's not done it, so I'm being critical of Arteta at the moment. I think big managers go, right, actually, you're my man now.
Could I just clarify there, because you might have misspoke or you might have meant it the way it came out. Did you say, I think Rice is better than Arteta, he's a winner, as in Arteta's not a winner?
Well, I think, yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying he's got an opportunity this year to actually turn into a winner. He's 5 years now. 5 years. He got great success at the start with a very defensive team. You know, we didn't have the forwards, so we defended in numbers. We didn't defend well. The defenders didn't, but they defended as a unit, which really, he got everyone behind the ball, basically, and we nicked the FA Cup. So going on and winning leagues, to win league titles, you have to be a Klopp, you have to be a Ferguson, you have to lead by example, you have to be a winner, you have to go about your business, and that reflects in your captain. And by making Odegaard a captain is a reflection of Odegaard and of Arteta, and I can really see that. And I'm seeing Declan Rice as a captain, but I'm saying to Arteta, come on, step up now. It's your time to be a winning manager and a fantastic manager, because you're not going to win the league with Odegaard as captain. I'm sorry. It's going to be a rotation job, and you're going to get the same mentality of sometimes him and that one to come out and that one to go in and that one. You know, you've got someone in there that's going to play every game all season, that's going to encourage people to come in and do this and do that and lay the foundations of a title-winning team. Declan Rice can do that. Odegaard can't. Come on, Arteta, make him captain.
Really interesting. Gary, where are you in that?
I wanted to ask you in terms of Declan Rice. I see Declan Rice as certainly someone who will do what the manager tells him to do. Do you see Declan Rice as a problem solver in the way that you said you were to Wenger, the way that Roy was for Ferguson's teams? I don't see Declan Rice as going looking in and go, listen, I know the manager's told us that, but for 15 minutes, we're doing this to get us over the line. I don't see Declan Rice that type of character. Maybe that type of character.
I think you can develop into that.
Yeah, but that type of character probably is not there as much as it was, because these players are coached from a young age to knowing everything they're supposed to do, that a lot of them are not problem solvers. if there's an issue, they're always looking over at their bench for the coach to solve the problem.
So do you think it makes no difference who's captain?
I understand what Tony's saying in terms of the fact that he plays every single week, and that's brilliant. I think he galvanises the crowd as well. He's that type of one. And I probably would agree with him there, but I don't see him as an iconic at this moment in time in a way that, say, you were at 21 or that Roy Keane was. No.
I think because Arteta's played him on as a number 8 at times, you know what I mean? And I would have probably said at that stadium, no, I'm not going to play there. I'm going to play right in front of the back four. This is me, this is Arsenal, and I'm a Patrick Vieira, I'm a Manu Petit, and that's my best position, and I'm captain, and I'm leader. But he's kind of Arteta's dominated him and pushed him into this position, and he's kind of gone along with it.
Yeah, he's not going to play, Zubimendi's going to come in and play that holding role. I'm not sure Declan Rice can take it on the half turn like Patrick and Emmanuel did off their centre halves yet anyway. I don't think it's the best part of his game. I think with Declan Rice, you kind of want to see that athleticism, that box-to-box drive. And so often when he played in that advanced position, he was brilliant for us.
I'm just not sure that Arteta wants that type of character, that vociferous, in-your-face character, because like I do like Arteta, and I do hope he gets success. But it's when he comes out with things like we finished second and that could have been 3 titles. You know, that's such, like, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody cares. We could have added a certain amount of titles. You know, people care about the titles that you have. And I just think Declan, with the captain's armband, leading from the front, making decisions, the type of stuff Tony was talking about, you know, not going above the manager, but taking responsibility. And if there's an issue, I'm going to fix it. I think Arteta wants to be involved in everything and wants to be the one that manages it, as opposed to just letting Declan develop into that leader that he will be, you know.
Really interesting. Manchester United over the summer bought Mbeumo. It looked like they were having an okay pre-season, and then against Everton they drew, and Bruno Fernandes came out and said they were lazy, and it was just like, oh my God. Like, here they go again. They've got Rashford out, they've got Garnacho out, they've got Anthony out. Do you think they're poised, Damien?
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
they're like, absolutely not. I mean, on a serious note, I mean, like, you know, you still look around that squad, and you talk about the culture that's set in Manchester United and player set culture. You know, Luke Shaw, Maguire, Casemiro, Dalot. Geez, the list is endless. They're all still at the club. They needed to get out 5 or 6, and that'll start to change the culture. And even the Luke Shaw interview I heard, you know, I mean, how many times have we heard him come out with these statements, you know, things are going to be better now. You know, they're not. You know, he's there 11 years now. You know, Cunha's a decent player. I think Mbeumo's a decent player, but the supplementary type players, you know, you need to like get proper centre-back, Gabriel Saliba type centre-backs, you know, Vincent Kompany, all the big teams have them, you know, Liverpool with Virgil van Dijk, you need a proper central midfield player, you know, in terms of Declan Rice, you go through Liverpool's midfield, Chelsea's midfield, and so for that, you know, they all have these big characters on the spine of the team. Manchester United just don't, you know. I know they're talking about Sesko being the answer. He's not. You know, I work for hold on. I work for Virgin, right? We cover an awful lot of RB likes of games. He's the type of term. He's a joiner inner. You know, if it's going well and things are going good, and he's capable of incredible moments, but he drifts. Games passing by, moments passing by. Manchester United don't need. They have enough of those.
Yeah. Can I ask a question about Amram that I think is a fair criticism, and anytime I bring it up, it's to you. I've brought it up a few times. You said no. He has to stick where he is. What he did last season, where he kept playing the same system, and it was rubbish, and only got worse, and it was like, well, this is just me, and I don't change, and everyone's like, okay, that's fine, and he's going to do that again next season.
Yeah.
I think he's getting away with murder here to do this. I think he should, if he took the job, the players he has, he should set them up to win short term and build and evolve slowly and improve things gradually. Like, he can't just come out and keep saying, this is my system. Yeah, but like that's not management. I could just learn one system and become a manager and say, I'm just sticking with it.
How did he get the job? He was headhunted. He didn't want to come. Remember this big saga on state, right? We want you. Okay. When a club wants you that much, you can set your terms. Okay, I'm coming in, but I play this way. You get me what I need, or fire me. So he is standing on his principle, and they will have a gentleman's agreement beforehand that this is how I play, get me the players. If you're not happy with how I'm playing, get me the players that can play a 3-4-3, that have the physical capabilities to play in that system. And they haven't done that for him.
And sorry to interrupt though, okay, fair enough, that was the deal. But Alex Ferguson had played on the break, away at Highbury or away at the Emirates if he needed to, possession football another day. Tony has talked about mixing things up. Like this notion that I play this way.
But I think if you alter your beliefs at Manchester United, you start getting a couple of results, the owners are going, oh no, we're good. We're Conference League even potentially, or top 10, win an FA Cup, that's happy. He wants to win leagues, he wants to get out of it, and he will die on his sword, 1,000,000%.
And do you think he will die on his sword?
Oh, very quickly. No, I say that in jest, not very quickly, that's a bit unfair. But I think that he could be one of the first managers to be gone, because he will stick to his principles.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cunha's not bad, Mbuemo's not bad. They still got a huge problem with Fernandes, can't play in the two in midfield, hasn't the discipline or the legs for it. They still got a problem at centre back if Harry Maguire is still playing. Okay, Lenny Yoro's not bad. Diego Dallo. When you look at their team, it's eerily familiar. They don't have the physical capabilities to implement that system.
So there's a great chance he doesn't last the season, Gary.
But it's like you said about changing your philosophy, and you look at Big Ange, played that certain way, and then for the final, low block, wins the cup, gets the success, gets the sack.
But if he had played that way more pragmatically at times during the rest of the season, then he wouldn't have got the sack.
No, we certainly wouldn't have. They wouldn't have lost as many games as they did. And he tried to control the narrative when he won the cup, as if to say, listen, from January onwards, we just concentrated on the Europa League.
Yeah.
They didn't. We covered a lot of Tottenham games. They still played that same way. They were still trying to win games, but they couldn't.
Yeah. Where are you in United, Tony?
I think they've been shocking. Their recruitment in particular for the last, I reckon, about 10 years. It's been so poor. They've got 250 million wage bill. Man City, 350 million. The second biggest wage bill in the country is Manchester United. How can you make so many wrong decisions? Who's recruiting? And it's been one manager after the other, one sports director after the other. And it's been a pantomime, absolutely laughing stock about one of the greatest clubs on the planet. The owners, I think, are the ones to blame here. The levels of command, there's no one in there that's going, right, this is it. We get one player that's... Steve Rowley, my famous 40 years at scout at Arsenal, he just went, right, we've got a right back. If we can get a better one than the one that we've got, then we'll put that one in. And we build blocks like that. We've got a centre half, Gary's there, and we've got Tony Adams. Sorry, Gary. Off you go.
You're right, son.
You build the blocks. You don't just go, boom! For 5 players here and 5 rounds here and 5 and this player and that and that and that, and you go like that. It's like shopping. It's not recruitment. It's not recruitment.
I think Tony's looking at it from like a logical sporting director's point of view. The thing also to remember with Manchester United is they're a publicly traded company. And when you're a publicly traded company, the share price matters. And I think what's driven Manchester United's recruitment strategy over the last 10 years is the share price. They don't care that Casemiro's passed it, share price went up. They don't care that Ronaldo's passed it, the share price went up. And when you look at Manchester United's recruitment and you think, publicly traded company, share price is the only thing that matters to the Glazers. Every signing wasn't about winning trophies. Every signing wasn't about periods of dominance or rebuilding. What can we do to keep the share price up? Big name signings, past their best, but the eyes that are on the club and eyes on the club boost the share price.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo more than paid for himself.
2 clubs made profit last season. 2 clubs made profit. Man United and Tottenham.
Does anyone think Man City are going to come up with the rails and surprise everyone? No?
No, I think they'll come back. They'll bounce back. I think they've got too many good players, and it'll be Pep. And if they get some confidence along the ride.
He's looking tired though, Pep. No, I don't know. I think the levels might be just falling off a little bit.
He did. He did an interview recently where he said he's looking forward to taking the 15 years off after his contract's up. If you're thinking like that, it does suggest a certain tiredness.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Just before we wrap, Republic of Ireland, want to mention. So this is going to happen so quickly.
Yeah.
On the 6th of September, Ireland, the first game, crucial game, it's against Hungary. And I don't know if you know, but we have a Hungarian expert on the panel.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
But it's going to be Hungary in September, followed by Armenia away. And then October, Portugal away, Armenia home. And then November, it's going to finish Portugal, Hungary. So, what used to take 18 months to qualify is now
10 weeks.
10 weeks. Boom. Things have gone, in March, they beat Bulgaria home and away. There was a great kind of sense of, God, Hamer's making a good impression with people. I know, Gary, we spoke, you didn't love the June friendly Senegal, Luxembourg players given a rest or whatever. So it was a bit of a sad finish to the season in that respect. But that first game against Hungary, are you guys optimistic Ireland are going to get off to a good start here? Because if they don't at home to Hungary, it's very, very difficult.
That's the worry. Like, too many of the campaigns recently now have been over before they've even begun.
Yeah.
And so it's so important, that game. I do go into this game with more confidence than I would have done before, because I think, and I hope that they've actually got a way of playing that these not lesser players, but not the strongest Irish squad we ever had, can be successful with. Don't hang them out to dry. We said that about certain players, certain managers' philosophy. So he has that. The only worry I have is that there's still some conflicting messages from previous regimes, and we've had 3 managers, if you count John O'Shea, in a short space of time, 3 different messages, where Stephen Kenny, very expansive and stuff like that, want to play through the thirds. Now we've gone the complete opposite to a way you probably are synonymous with an Irish team that you might have faced with Jack Charlton, was that try and put the opposition under pressure. Now, to do that, everyone has to know exactly what they're doing. And that was something we mentioned to John O'Shea when we saw him in the summer. Have these players got a fully focused idea of how to be successful? And he suggested they have, so fingers crossed.
Are Hungary good, Damien?
They're a good side. You guys, they're very good side, actually. But
you'd be mad not to watch them on Virgin. Just shouldn't pass up the chance.
Regretting so much tonight. But one thing I will say about Hamer, and I quite like about him, is he will set up his team for whoever he's playing against.
Okay.
And he's changed.
The opposite to Amro.
Absolutely. So he will go in and he'll say, who are we playing against? What have I got? How can I limit their biggest strengths and accentuate their weaknesses while also giving us a chance of keeping a clean sheet? And he does set his teams up right. And he has shown to be very flexible. The stuff with Nathan Collins and dropping from midfield into centre-back. So he does set his teams up. His explanation about the summer friendlies, that we'll see the benefit by giving the players a rest. There was no sense in bringing them in. So he went well. So I think we're in a good place. I just hope we're in it with a couple of games to go. Because we've been done after a game, Serbia. We've been done after 2 games. And it's just been like, can we do... I just hope we're in it. I'm not saying we're going to qualify, because it's so hard to get into a World Cup right now. But confidence is starting to come back, and I think Hamer's done a reasonable job to this point.
Okay, good. Well, 6th of September is going to fly in now, Ireland, Hungary, and then the Armenia game 3 days later, and we'll know a lot more about where we are then. Fellas, everyone has homes to go to. It was just great. I said to you after part 1 upstairs, I was drained. It was amazing, but thank you so much for being so open about so many things. Tony Adams, brilliant, everybody. And then, if you're listeners to the pod, or if you just see them this evening, you can see how good they are. We are thrilled they're part of the podcast. Damien Delaney, Gary Breen, everybody, big thanks to the lads. Thank you. Very final thanks to Sky Sports Extra. You can get every Premier League game next season. They've been brilliant sponsors. We love having them on board, so thank you to everybody at Sky. And of course, like I said at the start of the show, so appreciative of everybody being here. I think it was a great evening. So thank you very much, everyone. Safe home, and we'll do it again sometime. All right, thank you.
Well done, guys.
Well done, mate.
Well done, Gary. Lovely to see you, mate. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Well done, Joe.
Tony, pleasure.
First class. Well done. Brilliant. Really enjoyed it.